Hello, my name is Bobby Holcombe, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid at the University of South Carolina Union Campus. Thank you for joining me as we discuss the 2021-2022 FAFSA. However, before we start discussing and before you start attempting to complete the FAFSA, I do have a request. I have a PowerPoint attachment, and I would request that you print this off when you actually sit down to look at this YouTube link and complete your senior's FAFSA. It will help you a great deal. Let me remind you that as of October 1st of this year, the FAFSA is up and online and ready to be completed. You'll be using your and your senior's 2019 federal income tax return. Before you actually start the FAFSA, the senior and one parent must file and create a FSA username and password. So you can go ahead and do that now. It takes a few minutes so the senior can sit down using his or her information and decide what parent will be sitting down. Go on the website given and create your FSA username and password. Now let me warn you, this is very important information and highly secure. Only you will have this information. If you lose this information, you'll have to go through the Department of Education, request the information, and that's not always fun. So what I would suggest you do, write it down exactly the way you created it, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, whatever it may be. Take a picture of it on your phone, maybe put a copy in with your tax returns, maybe stick a copy in the family Bible. Just have it several places so you can access it next year. Because folks, when you do the FAFSA, unfortunately, you're not one and done. You'll be doing the FAFSA every October that the senior, who will at that time be a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior in college, will be returning to college the following August. So we're assuming you've got your FAFSA created. We're assuming you've got the printed off papers in front of you, and we're ready to start looking at the FAFSA. So what we're going to do, we're going to log into www.fafsa.ed.gov. Again, www.fafsa.ed.gov. If you were to log in to www.fafsa.com, you're going to get the same information that I'm about to show you. You'll go through the information, and when you get ready to submit it, you will be charged $80. It's a legal scam, so don't fall for it. So as we get ready to turn on the computer and we're going to walk you through the FAFSA, remember www.fafsa.ed.gov. Thank you. Before we start completing the FAFSA, I would like to address one question that I'm often asked. What is the financial cutoff for applying the FAFSA? There's no income restrictions whenever you're applying for the FAFSA. Everyone, regardless of income, will be considered for some type, often more types of financial aid than just one. There's actually 10 types of financial aid programs that you will be applying for when completing the FAFSA. They are the Federal Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, State Need-Based Grant, which is for South Carolina public colleges, South Carolina Tuition Grant, which is for private South Carolina colleges, the Federal College Work-Study Program, Lottery Tuition Assistance Program, which is for two-year technical schools and USC system colleges such as USC Union, Salkehatchie, Lancaster, and Sumter, direct loans, sub, direct loans unsub, parent loans for undergraduate students, and WINS, W-I-N-S, which is a program for South Carolina technical schools. So again, everyone is encouraged to complete the FAFSA. Now, as I said earlier, prior to completing the FAFSA, the student and one parent should create a username and password. Keep this close by. Please do not lose this. You'll be using this to get into the FAFSA, sign the FAFSA from this point forward. So I've created a bogus username and password, and I'm going to sign in with it. Now you're new to the FAFSA, so you would click Start Here, and it takes a little while for the FAFSA to process and advance pages. You'll click I am the student. You will enter the student's information. So as I said, I have a bogus username and bogus password. I'm about to enter. And you'll hit next. Now you're at the warning page, which is a disclaimer. And you will hit accept with the disclaimer. And it's processing, and we'll just wait a moment. Now, you're at My FAFSA 2021-2022. And you see you have actually two choices to make. Will you be applying for financial aid for the 2021 school year or the 21-22 school year? You're applying as a high school senior for the 21-22 school year. So we will click 21-22. And as I said earlier, this has already been set up as a bogus password. And because I've used this several times, it shows that it's already been processed. So we're going to go to Make FAFSA Corrections, which you would not have to do that. You will go straight to a clean FAFSA and put in the save key. The save key is something that I encourage you to use something that you'll remember, such as your zip code or a simple number. So I'm going to use a zip code. And you have to put it in twice. And then you'll hit next. You hit OK. And you're at the introduction page. Folks, I would encourage you just to hit next and skip this page because this is a very simple form. If you start reading each of these links, you'll be on this computer for a while. And we want to make it simple and quick for you. So we'll hit next. And on this page, everything that we have created earlier by getting the FSA username and password is already populated. So, the only thing you would need to include on this page is the student's middle initial, and then you would just correct everything else that's on this page so you will know that the information is correct. I can tell you that, and it's not showing because, as I said, we've already duplicated this once. There'll be a question asking if you're male or female. Well, you would put male if you're male, of course. If you are, you will have the opportunity to register with Selective Service. I would encourage you to go ahead and register with Selective Service. In order to receive federal or state financial aid, young men must be registered with the Selective Service. Now, if you identify yourself as female, that question will be omitted and you will not have to worry about it. So we're just going to go ahead and put no, we're not registered, but register me. And we scroll on down and it's asking about high school status. I assume everyone here will be receiving your high school diploma. But if you're getting a GED, homeschool, or none of the above, you would answer the question as it should be. But again, we're putting high school diploma. The next question is, what will your college status be? You are a high school senior at this point. You may have some AP classes. You may have some dually enrolled classes. But you need to check never attended college first year because you are entering freshman. It's asking for the degree that you're seeking. You have a number of choices here. Please do not list second bachelor's. Do not list teaching credential. Do not list college graduate professional or other undecided. If you do, you will not be considered for any free aid, and that is what we're after first, is the free money. So it would not hurt anyone to put first bachelor's degree. Whether you're considering going to a 2-year or technical school, I would suggest first bachelor's degree. It's asking if you're interested in work study. Remember, I mentioned 10 types of financial aid that this form will be considering you for. Federal work study, federal supplemental educational opportunity grant, state need-based grant, and state tuition grant is all on a first-come, first-served basis. So I would put yes, work study is a job on campus. You'd be paid for your services, and it's something that would help you earn extra income as you pursue your college degree. You're not guaranteed work study. This next question automatically populates based off of you not having a college degree, so you do not have to answer this question. Were you ever in the foster youth or any time in the foster care system? If you were, through the Department of Social Services, you would answer yes. Now, later on in the process, you have to document this with the College Financial Aid Office. But for now, we're just going to assume no, and we're going to put no. The next two questions have no bearing on your financial aid. It's asking the highest grade level Parent 1, Parent 2 completed. So, for example, if Parent 1 was Dad and he completed the 11th grade, you would put high school. If Parent 2's Mom and she completed some college or perhaps graduated college, you would put college or beyond. This next question, the drug conviction question, will not be asked until you're a sophomore in college, so it will not be on there this year. You'll hit next, and it's asking the high school you graduated from. In order to receive financial aid, you must have graduated from a certified high school or an approved homeschool program. So we're just going to put in a high school, such as James F. Burns and Duncan. Put the city Duncan, the state South Carolina, and you'll hit confirm. It will pull up your choices, and you can see you have two choices. The first one is James F. Burns High. The second one is James F. Burns Freshman Academy. So we know you're a senior, so we're going to select James F. Burns High School and then hit next. Now, this is a very important part of the FAFSA. You can release your FAFSA up to 10 different colleges. I would encourage everyone to put one public South Carolina school in there, whether it be technical or 2-year, 4-year, and one private South Carolina school list. And the reason being, remember the state need-based grant for public schools and the South Carolina tuition grant for private schools? You must have these schools listed on your FAFSA and have applied for admissions and been accepted. So I have several schools listed: Benedict, which is a private school, USC Union, which is public, and out-of-state, George Wallace, they're in Alabama, and Academy of Hair and Technology, which is in Aiken. So we're going to add another school, and it really doesn't matter what school we add. I'll just go to a school in Colorado. I'm going to hit search, and it will list every school that's in Colorado. So I'm just going to check Ames Community College on the left-hand block. In the center, hit add. And then I'm going to scroll down and hit next. And you can see Ames Community College has been added. Now, there's a housing plan status. The housing plan is very important because it will determine the cost of attendance for that college. And we will talk about what cost of attendance means in just a few minutes. But you have three choices. Your choices are on campus, with parent, off campus. So I'm just going to select on campus. And when I have all my colleges selected and I've answered the housing plan, I'm going to hit next. Now, this is a very important part of the FAFSA. It's a student, as you can see on the left, there's a bar that says student section that determines if this student is dependent or independent. If the student is dependent, then they'll put mom and dad's information down. If they're independent, they would put their information and their spouse's information down. So most students were not seniors, were not born before January 1st, 1998. So you would put no there. If you're married, you would answer that question. If you're in graduate school, that's automatically populated no because you're seeking an undergraduate degree. The next two questions are very important. It's asking, do you or will you have children who receive more than half of their support? Now, this question is a little misleading. It should read, do you have a child or children that you claimed on your 2019 or 2020 federal income tax return? If the senior has a child and they claim that child and themselves on their 19 or 20 federal tax return, they would answer yes. But if parents claim the student who would be the child and the student's child who would be their grandchild, you would put no. If someone else other than the student claimed that child, you would put no. The next question, do you have dependents? Again, this is a student question. Very few students have dependents other than children or a spouse, so we'll put no. We'll continue asking questions such as, in order to determine your dependency status, are you currently serving in active duty? Are you a veteran of the armed forces? Just because you're in junior ROTC at your high school and you plan on continuing college in the ROTC program and going in as a commissioned officer, you are not a veteran. So make sure you put no to these questions. As determined by a court in your state of legal residence, are you an emancipated minor? Does someone other than your parent or step-parent have legal guardianship of you? Now, this question is very important. Legal guardianship is not the same as custody. So, if a grandparent, aunt, uncle, someone else has custody of you, you would still answer no. Legal guardianship is a totally separate legal document. But we will talk about legal custody later. Are you homeless? If you are, then you'd put yes. If your high school deems you homeless through the McKinney-Vento Act, then make sure you put yes. At any time after July 1, did your high school district determine that you were an unaccompanied youth or homeless? There again, check with your high school if you're not sure. Are you in an emergency shelter or homeless shelter? And at any time after July 1, were you determined homeless? So if you answer yes to any of these questions, you put yes and you're automatically an independent student. However, once the financial aid office gets your information, you will have to provide the documentation that supports the reason you answered yes. The next question is going to ask, how many people in your household? How many people in your household are attending college? And then you would hit next. Now, notice these questions change from a border that was blue to a border that is now purple. It's changed from student, who's blue, to parent, who is purple. And the first question I want to address is, who are your parents? If you'll look over and check the question mark, help and hints will pop up. And it will tell you who a parent is. The second paragraph, parent refers to a biological or adopted parent or a person determined by the state to be a parent. For example, if the parent is listed on the birth certificate. If one of your parents is widowed or divorced and has remarried, answer the question about that parent and your step-parent. Grandparents, foster parents, legal guardians, older brothers or sisters, widowed step-parents, aunts, uncles are not to be considered parents unless they have legally adopted you. So you may be in custody with a grandparent or someone else. They are not your parent, and you would be putting your parents' information down if it's available. Now there's a part, and we just skipped it, is ask if you will provide your parents' information. If you have been removed from your home through DSS or the court system, possibly because of child abuse, sexual abuse, drug abuse, no one wants you to re-enter that home and try to get information and be in harm's way. So you would check no that you could not get your parents' information. Continue the FAFSA. When it's processed, the financial aid office at the school you're attending would have to work with you in order to override and make you an independent student. Now, the first question that confuses the parents is your marital status. So let's discuss it. If you are never married, if you are divorced or separated, or if you are widowed, only one parent's information is to go in this section. If you are unmarried, but both legal parents living together, married or remarried, then there's two parents' information that will go in this section. At this point in time, you will have parent 1 and parent 2 if you're in one of these categories. We're going to assume that you're married, remarried, whether it be the biological parent or step parent. Once you completed the FSA username and password, you identified yourself as parent 1, parent 2, stay consistent. So you put that parents are married, remarried. You just put in their anniversary date. Again, this is all bogus information. Include your parent 1's social security number, and your name on your social security card must match what you enter here. So if you've not changed your name, put what is on your social security card. Your first initial of your first name and your date of birth. Then you go to parent 2 and you do the exact same thing, listing their name, their social, their first initial, and their date of birth. And always list the parent's email, so they will be getting information via email, and you'll have to confirm the email a second time. In the student section, just like the parent section, it asks, what is your parent's state of residence? And then it will ask if you've lived in the state of South Carolina prior to January 1st, 2016. Remember, folks, this is a generic application. The FAFSA is good in all 50 states, and it's the form that every student who's attending college will complete. So, it's universal. The state of Nevada has a 5-year residency. I'm sure some other states may have a stricter residency as well. South Carolina only has a 1 year. So as long as you've been a resident of South Carolina for 1 year, you'll put yes. You'll go down and again, put the household information for the parents, the number of parents, the number of siblings, including yourself, and then the number in college. You'll hit next. And then it's encouraging the parents to use the link to the IRS, and I do too. It will save you a lot of time. We're not able to do that because this is bogus information, but I'm going to show you the first part of linking. You would click link to the IRS, and it would take you to this page. You would have to identify yourself based upon your FSA username and password. Are you parent 1 or are you parent 2? Once you identify yourself, you would put your FAFSA username and then your FSA password in, and you'll click proceed to IRS site. Now again, we cannot do that today, but it's that simple. One thing, once you get to that site, what you will have to do is have your taxes in front of you and enter the address exactly the way it is on your taxes. What I mean by that, if you live at 123 Pine Street and whoever prepared your taxes put Pine Street all uppercase, that's how you would need to list it. If they did Pine ST, that's how you would list it. Everything needs to match exactly the way it is on the front page of your tax return. And then you would hit link, and hopefully you would be successful and you can link. If not, it's not the end of the world. We're just going to hit skip IRS transfer. It takes us back to the family parents information because it's purple, remember? And you just answer the questions. Now, have you completed your 2019 tax return? You have 3 choices. Already completed, will not, which means you filed an extension, or not going to file. So, some parents who are on Social Security disability would put not going to file. Most parents have already filed, so that's what we're assuming. Then you're going to identify the type form you completed. Again, most parents will complete a 1040. Then you're going to answer married, filed joint, or you have other choices. If you're not married, you filed single, had a household. You couldn't be married and file separate, qualifying widow. Now, in order to link, if you're single, if you're head of household, a qualifying widow, you've got the information you need because there's only one person, and that's you as a parent, and you're the one who created the FSA username and password. If you're married, filing jointly, the same thing. One parent would have completed the FSA username and password. However, if you're married and file separate, you will not be able to link. So just keep that in mind. We're assuming we did a joint tax return. It's asking your adjusted gross income. Now, if you filed separately, just put your tax returns side by side and add these items together. If you file jointly or by yourself as a single parent, it's pretty simple. So what was your adjusted gross? It tells you what line to look at on the 1040 form. How much did parent 1 and how much did parent 2 earn? The simplest way to get this is look at your W-2 forms. You'll need your W-2 forms, so make sure they're available and just look at what's listed on your W-2. Then you'll continue, and based upon if you did a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, it will ask you that question. You would hit yes or no. It's asking if either parent's a dislocated worker. That means, are you currently receiving some sort of unemployment? Now, depending upon your income, this next section may or may not appear. If it doesn't, do not worry about it. If it does, all you have to do is click if you received any of the following: Medicaid, SSI, SNAP, free or reduced lunch in the public school system, temporary assistant needy family, or WIC. If you have none of the above, you would just click none of the above. Then we go to a different section. It's additional financial information. So look, if you or your student had any of this, you would just put the amount in the block. And again, look at your tax returns. It tells you what line to look at. So it's fairly simple. Then we go to the next section, and you'll hit next for 2019 untaxed income. Now, pay attention to the first block and look at your W-2 forms. Look at block 12A through 12D of your W-2 form. If you have anything listed with these following codes, D, E, F, G, H, and S, then you would list it. If you do not, you would put 0. We're just assuming we have $1,200, so that's why I put $1,200. The next question is child support received. So if you received child support, put that amount that you received in 2019. Up above in the other section, it asks if you paid child support. So if you paid, you would make sure you would want to list that. Remember I talked about families who would not file? This very last question in 2019, other untaxed incomes. This is where if you did not file but you received disability, workman's comp, you would put your 2019 benefits in. This next section is a section that I want you to look at very carefully. It's answered on good faith. It's asking what is your total current cash, savings, and checking account. Folks, we're all different. What do you have in your checking account at the end of the month? After you've paid your bills, after you've gone out to eat, after you've filled your car up with gas, do you have $50? Do you have $500? Do you have $0? It's a good faith estimate. Figure that up. Now it asks about savings. It's a passbook savings account. It's not your investments. We'll talk about your investments shortly. So if you just have a passbook savings account, that's what you would list. And then your checking account and cash. The next question is about your net worth. So let's read this because it's very important we answer this question correctly. First of all, your net worth does not include the home in which you live. Make sure you do not list your home. If you have secondary property, such as rental property, vacation property, then you would list that. You would also list the following: UGMA and UTMA accounts. money market funds, mutual funds, certificate of deposit, stock options, bonds, other securities, installment and land sale contracts. You would also include any educational benefits such as Coverdell savings or 529 saving plans. So that is what an investment would be. Let's look what investments are not. And oftentimes, this is what we have, and this is where we make our mistake. Investments do not include, again, the home in which you live, the value of life insurance, able accounts, retirement plans such as 401k plans, pension funds, annuities, non-education IRAs, KEO plans, or etc. It does not include the cash savings and checkings that we talked about earlier. So if you have any of the above that is investments listed, if you have any of these that are not investments, do not list it. And then we'll go on to the next question is concerning self-employment. Do you own your own business or not? Just read the helps and hints to determine what you should and should not list. Then you'll hit next. And as we hit next, something has just happened. If you look, the screen has turned from violet to blue. So that means we go back to the student and we're through with the parents' information. However, oftentimes this is confusing because it's asking the exact same questions on behalf of the student. So to make this a little simpler and to go faster, I'm just assuming the student is not going to file. If the student worked and filed or worked and did not file, then answer the questions accordingly. Again, we're just going to go through this because it's the exact same questions, but you're answering them on behalf of the student, not the parent. Do not duplicate parents' information. After this is done, you'll have the opportunity to look at everything you've completed, and then you're going to hit submit, and your information has been submitted. Now, you will have to enter the student's FSA username and password and agree, as well as the parent's FSA username and password and agree. Once you do that, you should be able to submit your FAFSA. If you're unable to submit your FAFSA, you have a second option, and that's called the signature page. You would print out the signature page, sign it, mail it within 24 hours to the address on the signature page, and submit your FAFSA right then. Once your FAFSA is submitted, you'll see you'll get a 2022 confirmation page. Print it out. This is your evidence that you've submitted your FAFSA, and you'll see all the schools that it was submitted to. Now, what's important about this, the FAFSA lets you know what your effective family contribution is, which is your EFC. Your EFC could be all zeros up to all nines. So the FAFSA determines your Pell eligibility off of your EFC. You can look to the right, and if you're Pell eligible, it will give you information. If you're not, it will just tell you you're eligible for direct Stafford loans. However, all this other information I mentioned, such as work study, state need-based grant, state tuition grant, loans will be considered in process as well. So you will see what you can possibly qualify for. Each college has what's called a cost of attendance. If you remember back up in the slide where you listed the college and if you would live on campus, off campus, your cost of attendance is based upon your living status. Now, tuition, room, board will be included, as well as other items such as books, transportation, room, meals, miscellaneous funds. There's a number of things. We want the cost of attendance to be as high as possible. So I'm going to use my school, USC Union, as an example. If you're a full-time South Carolina resident, your tuition is $3,779 a semester. So a little over about $7,300 a year. If you are living At home, your cost of attendance is slightly over $17,000. If you're living in one of the apartments or off campus, your cost of attendance is a little over $22,000 a year. So what happens is I will take your EFC, which in this case is 0. I will subtract it from the cost of attendance, and the difference is the financial aid that we can help you with. Now keep in mind, the FAFSA has 10 types of financial aid. There are a lot of other types of financial aid out there. For example, Palmetto Fellows if you're attending a 4-year school, Life Scholarship if you're attending a 4-year or 2-year school, Lottery at 2-year schools, Hope at 4-year schools. You have scholarships that hopefully you've applied for through your school, through your communities. Any external scholarships would be applied. Hopefully you've applied for the scholarships through the schools that you're considering. Any of those scholarships that you've been awarded would be applied. Any financial aid that you receive would be applied to help meet your need, whatever your need may be determined. Now, it could be mom or dad was in service and you have some VA benefits that you've transferred to your son or daughter. You need to get what's called the cost of attendance certificate of eligibility from the VA office and submit that to the college that you will be attending, to the financial aid office and veterans office, and we will be able to process any VA benefits that you'll be eligible for. This goes towards your need as well. If you were in a 504 plan while you were in school, then you need to contact your local South Carolina Vocation Rehabilitation Office because they can assist you with additional aid going towards tuition, room board, and transportation or books. So you must have your FAFSA process, you must have a financial aid award letter, and you need to meet. I would go ahead and make contact with your counselor at Vote Rehab, who you're assigned to, and they can help walk you through this. But once you have been awarded financial aid, Vote Rehab could be able to be of further assistance with money. Now, if you have a visual impairment, the South Carolina Commission for the Blind will do the exact same thing that vocational rehabilitation will do. So I encourage you to start now and work as soon as possible on any of these. What happens if 2020 or 2021 does not reflect what you reported on your 2019 taxes? Because you have to answer the FAFSA the way it's asking. You can't put a round hole in a square peg. So if you've lost your job, there's been a death, there's been a sickness, divorce, separation, whatever has happened in 20 or 21 that makes your income lower than the 2019, once your FAFSA has been processed, you need to contact the financial aid office at the school you will be attending. Now, only the school that you're attending can make this change, and it will only be valid at that school. So if you're considering attending USC Columbia and you go to Spartanburg Community College to have this change made, it's only good at Spartanburg Community College, not USC Columbia. So reach out to the college financial aid office that you plan on attending, and they will be able to help you with any changes that take place. Once you get your FAFSA completed, you'll be getting emails letting you know it's been processed. You get these emails much faster than the colleges will get the information. I would give at least 2 weeks from the time you've submitted your FAFSA before you start talking to the financial aid office at the colleges you're interested in, and then contact them because each student will have what's called requirements, and they're all different. It's based upon your FAFSA. Some students will be selected for a process called verification. Some students will be selected for selective service. Some students may be selected for citizenship. It just depends. A number of requirements are out there, but you need to have these satisfied before the financial aid office can process your financial aid, as well as you must have applied and been admitted to that school prior to your financial aid being processed. If you have any generic questions concerning the FAFSA, I encourage you to give me a call, 1-800-768-5566. You can hit prompt 4 and it will take you to the financial aid office, or hit prompt 7 and my number is 7724. If I'm not available, leave a message and I'll be more than happy to call you back. Now again, I can answer questions generically based upon the FAFSA. If you have questions about the University of Georgia, North Greenville University, Coker, you need to call those colleges because I have no idea how to answer those questions. But I'll be more than happy to help you with general questions concerning the FAFSA. Lastly, remember this is not one and done. Every October 1st, the new FAFSA will open up to be completed based upon the prior year tax returns. So your son or daughter will be a freshman. They'll start school more than likely in August. In about 6 weeks, it's going to be time to do this again. What you received in 21-22 may be totally different, especially if you prolong this work. So make sure you do your FAFSA every year as early as you can after October 1st. I wish you much luck with the FAFSA and much success in college. Thank you and have a great experience.